What happens when the CEO of an 11-location taxi company pretends to be a rookie driver, only to watch one of his employees give up his entire shift to help a lost tourist? Owen Riker stared at the glowing dashboard clock on his car. It was almost 6 in the morning, and the city hadn't even started to buzz yet. He pulled his black baseball cap a little lower and adjusted the fake beard glued to his chin. The cap had the logo of his own company stitched into it, the same logo printed across the side of the taxi he was now sitting in. It felt strange. He hadn't driven a cab in over a decade. Owen bought the taxi chain 7 years ago from a retiring owner who ran only 3 locations. Now it had grown to 11 across the city. He'd built the brand up through ride-share integration, digital dispatch systems, and beefed-up car maintenance protocols. But in the last 6 months, something had been bugging him. Bookings were dropping in District 3. Complaints about drivers overcharging, refusing short trips, and even being rude to tourists kept showing up in reports. He'd asked the district manager, Tricia, about it, but she'd brushed it off as the usual seasonal slump. Still, something didn't sit right. He didn't want to rely on second-hand updates anymore. So he made a call to HR, said he was sending an temp driver named Rick Owens from a partner agency to cover a few shifts. Nobody at this location had ever met him in person. His face wasn't on any internal training video or wall photo. Most of them probably assumed the owner was some guy in a suit in another state. So here he was, Rick Owens, part-time temp, driving cab number 34 in District 3. A tall guy in a wrinkled hoodie approached the car. "You Rick?" the man asked. Owen nodded. "That's me." "I'm Leo. You're assigned to me today. I'm supposed to show you how we do things here. Dispatch has your tablet and route sheet inside. Come on." They walked into the garage, a converted warehouse with a small office in the back. The walls were dirty. Coffee cups and takeout containers littered the dispatch desk. A woman behind the glass window looked up and gave a lazy wave. "That's Fran," Leo mumbled. "She's been here forever. Don't take it personal, she's just blunt." "She always this disorganized?" Owen kept his voice low. Leo glanced around. "Honestly, it's gotten worse. Management barely shows up. District manager comes once a week, sometimes less. We just keep the wheels moving." Owen took his tablet and followed Leo out to the lot. The first few hours were quiet airport runs, downtown drop-offs, nothing special. Leo was chatty, but in a good way. He offered tips about local traffic, shortcuts, and good coffee spots. He didn't complain, but he didn't sugarcoat things either. Owen liked that. Around 10, they pulled into a gas station to refill. As Leo stepped out to pump, Owen noticed a young woman pacing near the payphone, looking scared. She held a crumpled tourist map in one hand and a heavy backpack in the other. She looked lost. Leo saw her too. He hung up the pump nozzle and walked over. "Hey, you okay?" The woman looked up, startled. "I think I'm in the wrong part of the city. I was trying to get to the botanical gardens. Someone told me to take the green line, but I ended up here." Leo nodded slowly. "Yeah, you're way off. This is East Industrial, not even close." "I don't have a phone. I left it in the hostel locker. I thought I could just figure it out with the map, but..." Her voice trembled. She looked exhausted. Leo turned to Owen. "You mind if we reroute? I'll call dispatch and tell them we're going off shift for a while." Owen blinked. "You're taking her there." "She's alone, man. You see how shaken she is? I'll explain to dispatch. Worst they can do is log me for a missed shift." He turned to the woman. "Come on, hop in, we'll drive you there." She hesitated, then nodded. "Thank you, I'm Francesca." Leo smiled. "Nice to meet you, Francesca. I'm Leo, this is Rick." Owen watched from the backseat as Leo drove across town, chatting gently with Francesca. He asked her about her trip, what brought her to the city, and even gave her tips on places to avoid. By the time they pulled in front of the gardens, she looked like a completely different person, relieved, even hopeful. She reached into her pocket. "Can I pay you something?" Leo shook his head. "Nope, just enjoy your day, and next time bring your phone." She laughed and nodded. "Thank you, both." As she walked toward the entrance, Leo leaned back and sighed. That was worth it. Owen stared at him. "You do that often?" Leo shrugged. "Sometimes you get folks who are just out of their depth. It's a ride, not a rescue mission, but if I can help someone feel safe again, I'll do it." Owen didn't speak for a while. Something in his chest tightened. This was the kind of person who kept a company alive, someone who didn't just do the job, but made people feel human. Later that afternoon, they returned to the lot. Fran barely glanced up when they returned the cab keys. "Dispatch docked you for going off route," she muttered. "Said you'll get a warning." Leo rolled his eyes. "Great." Owen clenched his jaw but said nothing. As he climbed into his regular car, parked a few blocks away, he sat still for a moment, replaying the day. He knew what he had to do next. Tomorrow, he'd return not as Rick, but as Owen Riker, the man who owned all 11 locations, and he had questions. Owen returned the next morning without the beard, without the hat, and without the alias. His usual clean shave, pressed navy jacket, and the subtle gray in his temples made him instantly look like someone who didn't belong in a dispatch garage. Yet this time, he didn't bother hiding it. He parked 2 blocks away again, walked in through the side entrance, and stood quietly by the bulletin board just inside the garage. The place looked even worse under daylight. A stack of half-crushed boxes sat beneath a leaking pipe, and the smell of stale coffee and oil mixed in the air. Fran was behind the glass again, typing with one hand and eating a granola bar with the other. She didn't look up as he knocked once on the counter. "Tablets in the bin, driver name." "Owen Riker." Her fingers froze mid-keystroke. She turned slowly. "You're the owner." "That's right." Fran set the granola bar down and pushed her chair back without a word. Her shoulders straightened. "Tricia didn't say anything about you coming." "She didn't know." Fran opened the door to the inner office and gestured silently. Owen followed. The office was cramped and windowless, with a desk buried in papers and a dusty file cabinet that leaned slightly to the left. She closed the door behind them. "All right, what's going on?" "I spent yesterday on the road, undercover, with Leo." Fran's face shifted slightly, the way someone might look when they realize a light they never noticed has been on the whole time. "Okay." "I saw the lot. I saw the mess in dispatch. I saw the backlog of maintenance requests on the tablets. I also saw a driver take a personal hit to help someone who was scared and completely lost. He gave up fares, probably took a penalty, and didn't flinch." Fran rubbed her temple. "I don't think Tricia's been honest with you about how things are running here." "I'm starting to think that too." She sighed and sat on the edge of the desk. 2 months ago, we lost 4 drivers in 1 week. 1 moved, 2 left for ride shares, and 1 just stopped showing. Tricia approved cuts to overtime to control costs, so we couldn't offer any extra shifts to cover the gaps. Dispatch has been short-staffed since last fall, and maintenance, we submit tickets. They get ignored, so we patch what we can and keep going. "Why didn't anyone escalate?" "Because Tricia made it clear she didn't want noise. She said if we kept things steady, she'd approve budget increases this quarter. But steady meant hiding problems." Owen stepped back and leaned against the file cabinet. The metal creaked under his weight. "Has she been here this week?" Fran shook her head. "Last time she came in, she stayed 20 minutes, asked for weekly numbers, then left. Didn't check the garage, didn't talk to the drivers. just said she'd circle back. Owen nodded slowly. Thanks for being honest. Fran looked him in the eye. You gonna talk to her? I will. He left the office and headed straight for the driver's lounge. The room was dim, with a vending machine humming in the corner and mismatched chairs pushed against the walls. Leo was there, sitting with his back to the door, eating from a plastic container. Hey. He looked up and did a double take. Hey, Rick. Owen smiled faintly. Not exactly. I'm Owen Riker. Leo stared at him, the container halfway to his mouth. Then he set it down slowly. You're the owner. I am. Leo blinked a few times. You were in the car all day. Why? I needed to see what was happening here, without anyone putting on a show. Leo leaned back in his chair. All right, guess you saw plenty. I saw you handle a tough moment with someone who needed help, even though it cost you. That didn't go unnoticed. Leo didn't say anything for a moment. He scratched his jaw and looked down at his food. She reminded me of my sister, lost in a new city, no clue where she was. Sometimes I think people forget passengers aren't just fares, they're people. Owen nodded. That's exactly what I needed to be reminded of. Leo looked up. So what happens now? You gonna fix it, or is this just a one-day visit? I'm not here for optics. I came because District 3 is dropping in performance, and I wanted to know why. Now I do, and I'm not leaving this to Trisha anymore. Leo folded his arms. You should talk to Karim. He's been trying to raise red flags about dispatch delays and vehicle issues for weeks. Got brushed off. Where is he? Bay 6, probably under a hood. Owen found Bay 6 at the far end of the garage. A man in his late 40s was crouched beneath the engine of a hybrid sedan, sweat running down his neck despite the cold draft. He didn't look up when Owen approached. You Karim? Yeah, who's asking? Owen Riker. Karim froze. Slowly, he rolled out from under the car and wiped his hands on a rag. Didn't think I'd ever see you here. I heard you've been raising concerns. I've sent 6 maintenance tickets in the last 3 weeks. 3 for steering issues, 2 for battery faults, 1 for brake drag. Not a single follow-up. Last month, one of the guys nearly skidded into traffic when his brakes gave out. We patched it ourselves with parts I had at home. Owen's jaw tightened. Why wasn't that escalated? I tried. Trisha stopped replying to emails. Said we were being dramatic, told me to file through the normal chain. But the chain leads back to her. Owen nodded. You still have those tickets. In my locker, you want copies? Yes. Karim walked off, pulling off his gloves as he went. Owen turned, the weight of the past 2 days settling in hard. Not just neglect, systemic dismissal. He walked back into the main office and called the corporate line. When his assistant picked up, he didn't waste time. Schedule an emergency review with HR and legal. I want Trisha's district files pulled and her last 4 months of operational decisions audited. Also, suspend her access to the District Q effective immediately. I'm taking over District 3 personally for the next 2 weeks. He hung up without waiting for questions. By the time he returned to the lounge, Leo was standing by the window, watching a cab reverse into a tight spot. I just put in my week's notice 3 days ago, he said quietly. Didn't think anything would change. Owen stepped beside him. Hold off on that, things are changing now. Leo glanced at him sideways. You serious? I don't make promises unless I intend to keep them. Outside, the afternoon light hit the side of cab 34. It gleamed faintly, even under the dust. Owen knew this place wouldn't turn around overnight. The staffing issues, neglected maintenance, and eroded trust would take time to repair. But today was the first honest step. And it started with listening to the people who'd never stopped showing up. Leo sat on the folding chair outside the garage, jacket zipped halfway up, his thermos resting between his knees. The sun was just beginning to fade behind the rooftops across the lot, casting long shadows across the asphalt. He wasn't sure if he was relieved or uneasy. Owen had said things would change, but change didn't mean trust, not right away. The door to the side office opened. Karim stepped out first, wiping his palms on his cargo pants. Behind him came Owen, now in a dark gray pullover, sleeves rolled, phone in one hand, clipboard in the other. He looked like someone who'd stopped dressing for meetings and started dressing for work. Dispatch is rerouting all non-urgent pickups from District 3 to 4 and 6 for the next 48 hours, Owen said as he approached. We're scaling back shifts to give this place breathing room without shutting it down. Leo raised an eyebrow. You're redirecting fares. Temporarily, Owen replied. Until I know every car in this lot is roadworthy. Dispatch is stretched thin, I get that, but I'm not risking another close call like the one Karim mentioned yesterday. Karim nodded once, arms folded across his chest. About time somebody said that out loud. Leo took a sip from his thermos. You're gonna get pushback from corporate for diverting revenue. I already did, Owen said. Told them they could either eat a short-term dip or pay for a long-term lawsuit. He paused. They chose wisely. The wind picked up slightly, carrying the faint sound of a siren from a few blocks over. Owen scanned the lot. 3 cars were up on lifts, and 2 more were lined against the fence with bright orange tags under the wipers. Fran was inside, talking with someone on a headset, her voice sharper than it had been the day before. She's pushing through backlogged maintenance tickets, Owen said, noticing Leo's glance. Told her to deal directly with the regional fleet coordinator instead of waiting for Trisha's sign-off. Leo set the thermos down. So what's happening with Trisha? HR placed her on administrative leave while they audit her decisions. I've taken her off all internal systems. I'm not waiting for a board review to do the right thing. Karim leaned against the wall. You planning to run the district yourself? Only until I find someone with the spine and sense to do it better, Owen said. I'm not going to pretend I can be everywhere at once, but I can be here now, and I can listen. Leo's phone buzzed in his jacket. He glanced at it, ignored it, and looked back at Owen. You ever plan on telling us you were coming? No, Owen said. If I had, you wouldn't have shown me what I needed to see. Karim gave a short laugh. Fair. The side gate creaked, and a young woman in a yellow coat walked in, pulling a small suitcase behind her. She paused just inside the lot, squinting toward the garage entrance. Excuse me, she said, voice raised slightly. Is Leo here? Leo stood, confused at first, then recognition flickered across his face. Francesca. She nodded. I went back to the hostel and got my phone. I wanted to say thank you properly. You didn't let me pay you, and I didn't want to just disappear. He stepped forward, surprised. You didn't have to come all the way back. I wanted to, she said. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small, folded pamphlet. This is a free guest pass. The gardens give them to volunteers. Help out there when I travel. I thought maybe you'd want to go see it yourself. Leo took the pamphlet, looking at it like it was something delicate. That's thoughtful of you. Francesca smiled. I've met a lot of people on this trip. You're the only one who made me feel like I wasn't just in the way. Her voice cracked slightly at the edges, but she steadied it. I don't know how things work here, but someone should know what kind of person you've got in this company. Owen stepped forward, extending a hand. I do know, and I appreciate you coming back to say it. She shook his hand, surprised. Are you with the company too? I run it, Owen said plainly. Or at least try to. Francesca's eyes widened. Oh, wow. You reminded me what this place is supposed to stand for, Owen continued. Safe rides, human moments, not just numbers on a dispatch screen. She nodded slowly. Well, I'm glad it got lost then. Karim chuckled. Leo smiled quietly. Francesca gave a small wave and turned to leave, suitcase wheels bouncing slightly on the gravel. When she was gone, Owen looked at Leo. You ever think about taking on more responsibility? Leo raised an eyebrow. Like what? Temporary operations lead. You'd work with Fran to coordinate shifts, monitor vehicle status, and flag issues for me directly. I'm not management, Leo said. I've never done anything like that. Neither had I when I bought my first company, Owen replied. But you've got judgment, and I trust that more than a resume. Leo didn't answer right away. He glanced at Karim, who gave a subtle nod. I'll think about it, Leo said. Think quick, Owen replied. I'm not offering it to anyone else. The three men stood in silence for a moment, listening to the distant hum of traffic returning to normal. The air was colder now, the light nearly gone. Owen finally turned toward the building. I've got an overnight crew coming in to start cleaning the garage. Carpets, windows, even the break room. First impressions aren't just for tourists. Karim raised an eyebrow. You're paying for a cleaning crew. Out of pocket, Owen said. Corporate wouldn't budget for it, but I won't ask anyone to work in a place I wouldn't walk into myself. He disappeared into the back office, leaving Leo and Karim outside. You believe him? Karim asked. Leo stared at the pamphlet still in his hand. I don't know, but he showed up. That's more than most. Inside, Owen sat alone at the edge of the dispatch desk, typing notes into a shared terminal. Every name, every shift, every flagged car, all of it logged and cross-checked. He wasn't delegating this part. Not yet. He paused as a message popped up on the screen. Confirmation from HR that Tricia had been removed from all internal systems. Effective immediately. He leaned back slightly, rubbing his face. He was exhausted, but clarity had a way of burning through fatigue. He glanced out the small window at the garage. Leo was still out there, talking to Karim. Fran was pacing near the maintenance board, adding new service slips with quiet urgency. And in the distance, the cleaning crew's van was pulling up. It wasn't fixed, not by a long shot, but for the first time in months, this place was moving in the right direction. Not because of a system. Because of the people. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Owen stepped through the back hallway of the District 3 garage 2 days later. The overnight cleaning crew had come and gone, leaving behind scrubbed floors, regrouted tile around the breakroom sink, and a faint lemon scent that clung to the air like a quiet promise. He walked past the lockers, now cleared of old flyers and broken magnets, and into the garage proper, where Leo stood beside a whiteboard covered in shift allocations. I moved the start times for the early crew by 20 minutes, Leo said without looking up. Help stagger the lot exits so we're not bottlenecking at the gate. Owen studied the board. You cleared that with dispatch. Yeah, Fran's adjusting routing windows. She said it'll ease pressure on the morning queue. Owen nodded once. That's quick thinking. Leo capped the marker and turned around. His voice was steadier now, more sure of itself. I didn't think they'd listen to me. That's probably because they were waiting for someone who'd actually listen to them first. Outside, the first wave of cars rolled out through the service gate. Owen watched one of them, a compact sedan with a newly replaced bumper, ease into traffic. It had taken 3 calls and a vendor favor to fast-track the part, but it was worth it. That car had been sidelined for almost 3 weeks under Tricia's oversight. Now it was back in rotation with a vetted driver behind the wheel. Karim walked in from the lot, clipboard tucked under one arm. His coveralls had a new tear along the sleeve, a reminder that the work was still rough even if morale was rising. 4 more cars passed inspection this morning, he said. We've got 2 waiting on tires. Supplier says tomorrow if the shipment clears intake. What about the hybrid in Bay 7? Owen asked. Batteries cooked, not a repair job, needs a full swap. Too expensive. Karim shook his head. Not if you greenlight the supplier we used last year, still in our system, just buried under Trisha's preferred vendor list. Send me the quote, I'll approve it today. Karim handed over the clipboard and leaned on the open doorway. It's strange. I've worked here almost 9 years. First time I've seen someone in charge fix more than they explain. Owen looked up. I didn't come here to explain. I came to stop assuming. Karim smiled faintly and headed back toward the bays. Owen turned to Leo. Let's walk. They stepped outside, boots echoing against the concrete. A gust of wind rustled the tarp, covering a broken air compressor near the fence. Owen made a mental note to have it hauled out, no point keeping dead weight around. As they passed the back lot, Owen paused and pointed to the older section of the building across the alley. That used to be a training room, right? Leo squinted at the boarded-up window. Before my time, heard it got shut down when the district consolidated space. I want it reopened. For what? Driver onboarding, customer empathy training, conflict resolution, everything that should have been happening here but never did. Leo crossed his arms. That's going to take time. I know, that's why I'm not doing it alone. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded sheet of paper, handing it to Leo. It was a provisional offer letter, temporary operations lead, 3-month term, with transition support and direct access to corporate oversight. Leo unfolded it, eyes scanning the lines. He didn't say anything for a moment. You should give this to someone who wants to climb the ladder. I am, Owen said. You just didn't see the ladder before because someone kept pulling it away. Across the street, a delivery van honked twice as it backed into a narrow alley. The city was waking up fast now, and Owen could feel the rhythm of it settling in again. Leo folded the letter and slipped it into his jacket. All right, I'll give it a shot, but I'm not dressing like you. Owen grinned. Dress how you want, just don't stop telling me what's wrong. They circled back to the garage. Inside, Fran stood beside a younger driver with a clipboard. She was walking him through a route sheet with more patience than Owen had seen in her before. The kid nodded, nervously adjusting his cap. Fresh hire, Owen guessed, probably a week in. Fran glanced up and gave the briefest of nods. It wasn't warm, but it wasn't cold either. It was real. Owen stepped into the break room. The microwave had been scrubbed down, the fridge cleared and labeled. A bulletin board showed updated contact numbers, route changes, and the start of a new policy. Direct driver feedback sessions every Friday, no filters. One of the drivers, an older man with a stiff gait, sat at the table sipping instant coffee. He looked up as Owen entered. You're the guy from the emails. That's right. Nice to see a name show up with a face this time. Thanks, Owen said, trying to make a habit of it. The man nodded, then turned back to his coffee. Owen sat across from him for a moment, not to talk, just to sit. He watched the reflection of the lot in the narrow window. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest now. The door opened again. Fran stepped in, set a stack of printed feedback forms on the table, and turned to Owen. One of the new kids asked if we do any kind of customer storyboard. You know, something where passengers can leave comments. We don't, Owen replied, but we will. She nodded, figured. She left, and the door clicked softly shut behind her. Owen looked down at the forms. They were printed on plain paper, no logos, no branding. Just a question at the top: how did your ride go? He pulled out a pen and wrote something below the line. Felt like someone gave a damn. Later that afternoon, Owen stood by the edge of the lot as another shift rolled out. Leo was checking the driver manifest against tablet assignments. Karim was under the hood of a Prius. Fran was on her headset, mid-call with dispatch. The pieces were still coming together, but they were moving. He watched Cab 34 ease out onto the street. Same car, different energy. He didn't need to ride in it again to know the difference. He'd already seen what happened when someone in that seat chose to care.